When organizations embark on a digital or business transformation, they oftentimes lead with technology, but they're doing it all backwards. They need to forget about technology. I'll explain why that is here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world reach the third stage of digital transformation success. And when we're getting contacted by new clients, typically the problem statement is something like this. It's our technology is broken and we need to replace it. When we peel back the onion, the layers of the onion, however, we find that there's a lot more to the problem than just technology. In fact, technology is oftentimes the least of their worries. And this is why so many organizations need to rethink the sequence and the focus of their transformations and focus a lot less on transformation on the digital side and a lot more on business transformation rather than just technology. So what I want to do today is explain what that means. What are the things you should be focusing on instead of technology, and how can you deploy that mentality in your digital transformation? Now, a lot of what I'm going to talk about in today's video is related to business transformation and the playbook we use with our clients at Third Stage Consulting. So I want to encourage you to download that playbook. If you go to the links below or scan this QR code right here, you can get free access to our 10-step playbook on how to translate your digital transformation into more of a business transformation that will ultimately lead you to success. You can also learn more about us by going to our website at thirdstage-consulting.com, where you can find tons of videos and white papers and reports and other information that's meant to help you through your transformation initiative. The first thing you need to focus on instead of technology during your transformation is your business and digital strategy. When new clients first contact us, oftentimes we'll ask them why. Why are you contacting us? Why do you want to replace your technology? Oftentimes they'll have reasons such as our old technology is outdated, our company won't scale with that technology, our vendor is discontinuing support for the product, a lot of technically focused reasons. But if we continue to ask why and go deeper, we find that there's a lot more to it than just replacing technology. Typically, there's some strategic driver that's causing them as an organization to outgrow their technology. So the real problem isn't necessarily that the technology is broken, although it may be a constraint. It's not the real root cause of the problem. The real root cause is typically that the business strategy has evolved, the company has evolved, the company has changed and grown to the point where the technology doesn't support it. So before we ever start thinking about replacing technology, we first have to figure out what is our business strategy overall, which most executives have a pretty good sense of what it is they're trying to accomplish and how they want to grow the company with top line revenue growth, organic growth, mergers and acquisitions, et cetera. But oftentimes they don't know how to translate that business strategy into a clear and differentiated digital strategy that's unique to those business strategy and drivers. So that's the first thing, is we have to translate that executive level business strategy into a digital strategy. Just to give you an example, if you're a large multinational corporation and you're trying to standardize your operations, it might be that you're looking for more of a traditional ERP system to allow you to have a common set of tools, common set of business processes to allow you to scale and drive efficiency in the organization. If you're a mid-size, high-growth company, on the other hand, it may be that that same strategy that worked for the big multinational isn't going to work for you because you don't value standardization. That's not part of your strategic driver. Maybe your value is being entrepreneurial and you're a sales-driven organization, in which case you might focus on sales automation or changing your sales processes. So we need to figure out how we can tie specific digital strategy alternatives to your overall business strategy, and from there that'll lead us to the right answer for what's going to work from a technology perspective. Another focus that needs to take priority over technology in your digital transformation initiatives is to focus on defining your target operating model. All too often, organizations think that by simply buying and deploying new technology, that technology is going to give them the answers for how they're going to run their business. And this just simply isn't true, and it's a very dangerous assumption. It's a faulty assumption, because today's modern technology is so flexible and can do so many different things. It's so robust and powerful that you have to have a vision of what it is you want the software to do. And not only that, but you want to make sure you choose the software before you ever buy it. You choose the software that fits that future state target operating model. And then finally, another reason why it's so important to focus on your target operating model first and defining your high-level business processes, the way your organization is going to be structured in that future state, is because you need to make those decisions at some point. So you might as well make them upfront before you start paying for the expensive software, which is where the real cost comes in. In fact, this is why so many projects go over budget, is because they spend time during the implementation trying to make decisions around their target operating model when those decisions could have been made up front before the software vendor ever got involved. But instead, now what's happening is you've got an army of consultants and big subscription costs that you're already paying for that you're not using yet. All that stuff is adding up cost, and the meter is running on all those work streams while you're trying to decide what you want to be when you grow up. So the much more cost-effective way to do things, and the one that's going to provide you the most clarity and the least amount of chaos and risk, is to define your target operating model up front. And now, of course, when we talk about detailed workflows, we need to know what technology we're deploying. I'm not talking about granular workflow level processes, but I am talking about how we're going to structure the organization, what those macro processes are going to be, and how we want to change the business into the future, knowing that we're going to iterate on that and go into more detail once we have the technology chosen. So you want to avoid that trap of assuming that the technology is going to give you the answers, because it's not going to. It might give you some capabilities that you could leverage, but you still have to decide how it is you want to leverage technology to make your business better. Now, the next thing we need to do before we ever start really thinking about technology in our transformations is to define what the change impacts are and what our change management strategy is to address the people side of the equation, the human side of the equation. So for example, if we know we're going to consolidate jobs or we're going to automate part of someone's job, we need to decide and define what those people are going to do in the future. What are they going to do when we automate that spreadsheet or those manual processes that they've been doing for 10 or 20 years? We need to define that stuff up front, and we also need to recognize where the pockets of resistance might come from, because oftentimes it's the unintentional resistance that will derail a project. The other reason why change management is so important before you ever commit to a software vendor and before you commit to the overall project is because you need to understand the magnitude of change. How big of a change is this going to be? How much resistance do you proactively anticipate? And how can we develop a change strategy and build that into our overall plan? And that change strategy, by the way, is oftentimes on the critical path. That is ultimately what's going to take the longest on a project, is how fast you can change people. You're probably going to be able to implement and deploy technology a lot faster than your organization and its people are going to be able to adapt. So you have to have a clear vision of how we're going to manage that change, what that duration looks like, what the resource commitments are before you can ever have a realistic overall transformation plan. And this is another reason why it's so important to focus on change impact and change strategy before you focus on technology. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the types of robust change strategies that might help you, I encourage you to download our guide to change management. You can download that for free on our website by scanning the QR code right here, or go to the links below. Enterprise technology has been notorious for being big money pits with limited ROI and limited business value. And this is really unfortunate because the technology out there can do so much to improve businesses, yet organizations struggle to deploy it. They oftentimes are underwhelmed with the results, and they're overwhelmed with the cost and the time and the resources and chaos that it causes along the way. So a way to avoid this and a way to mitigate that risk is to focus on your business case and your value creation plan. How exactly are you going to use technology to deliver measurable results? And if you can't tie technology and certain capabilities or certain modules to specific business benefits, you have to ask yourself, do we need to deploy that technology? Has the software vendor just sold us a bill of goods or a vision that isn't realistic for us? Maybe we need to focus on the higher value targeted technological improvements and maybe focus on non-technological improvements that could deliver a higher ROI than just buying technology for technology's sake. So we need to have a clear business case, not only to justify the project in a sort of idealistic sort of way, we need to have a realistic business case and value creation plan that specifically identifies where the benefits are going to come from, how it's going to be achieved, and what the overall value is to the organization. And we not only use this for justification of the project, but we also, more importantly, use it to track benefits after go live and to optimize benefits so that we're sure we're actually getting the most out of the investments that we just made. After all, if you're investing millions of dollars and years of time and tons of resources sunk into the project, you want to make sure you're getting a good ROI and good business value for it. So before you ever think about actually deploying technology, make sure you have that business case and value creation plan to help guide you along the way. Once you've done all the things I've talked about so far in this video as it relates to your business strategy as it relates to your target operating model, the change impacts, and the business case, now you can start to define what that digital strategy and roadmap is. And now, and only now, is when you start really thinking about technology. What types of technology categories and specific vendors might be best suited for all the other stuff that we've defined leading up to this point. It may be that you're going to go out and procure a big traditional ERP system, or it could be that you're going to go deploy a platform, something that allows you to develop custom types of solutions that are unique to you and give you a competitive advantage. Maybe it's a best of breed approach or a modular or composable ERP approach where you're going to buy different systems to do different things within your business. Or maybe it's AI. Maybe you're going to focus on AI tools that give you quick wins at a relatively low cost. There's a lot of different paths you can go down, but if you haven't done all the things that I've described in this video, you're not going to know which path is best for you, and you're going to be more likely to be susceptible to really good sales and marketing messaging that may not fit what it is you're trying to accomplish as a business. So I hope this has given you some guidance on the things you need to do instead of focus on technology, or at the very least, the things you need to do before you start thinking about technology. But I'd love to hear from you. What do you think the most important aspect of a successful business transformation is? I'd love to hear your comments in the field below. And again, if you'd like to download our business and digital transformation playbook, I encourage you to do so. We're giving it away to help you through your project. It's the methodology we use with our clients. I encourage you to download that by scanning the QR code here, or you can go to the links below. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day. And value creation plan that specifically, because the old technology is broken. Let me say that again. When new clients come to us and ask, you can also learn more about us by going to Third Stage. I don't know our website. Yeah.